Hi, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about everything related to recertifying your national registry and also a little bit about renewing your state license. It's going to be a long video because there's just a lot to get through, but down in the description, you'll notice that the video is broken down into chapters. So if you need to skip ahead to figure out how to enter your continuing education hours on the site for a certain course or something along those lines, you can click down below on whatever you need and skip ahead. So first, let's start by talking about the requirements to recertify your National Registry certification. So the requirements are that you have to do 40 hours of continuing education every 2 years. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to do these 40 hours of continuing education, instead you can go and take the National Registry cognitive exam just as you did when you were first licensed as National Registry, and you can just pay and retake that exam every 2 years. Right now, the exam costs about $100. They keep increasing it a couple dollars here and there. So somewhere around $100, you can go take the exam and just be fit. You can take that exam and basically you're finished here. You don't have to worry about entering your hours. Now, if you're an inactive EMT, you'll take that exam. You fill out a piece of paperwork that says I'm inactive status. I'm not currently working or volunteering anywhere, and you send that in, and that's all you need to do. If you are actively an EMT and you're actually affiliated with an agency, you will need someone at that agency to verify your skills. Your medical director or your training coordinator will have to sign off verifying your skills. And National Registry doesn't really say what that means. It's totally up to the person that's signing that piece of paper. So if you are working or volunteering somewhere and you're affiliated with that agency on the National Registry site, I would talk to them first about what they would expect of you if you were to go take that National Registry exam and pass it, as far as what they would have you do for the skills. They might want you to do a full skills test. They might just ask you to demonstrate the skills, or maybe they've seen you do the skills on scene already and they would sign off on it. It's totally up to them. So I would check with them before you go that route if you are affiliated with somebody. Okay, most people don't do that. So let's talk about the requirements to recertify by continuing education. So a recertification cycle starts from the time you either got your national registry or renewed it the last time. So if this is your first renewal cycle, it started the day you passed your national registry exam. If you've renewed before, it started March 31st of whenever, or sorry, April 1st of whenever you renewed, because you renewed on March 31st. So in those 2 years, you need to complete 40 total hours. Now, 20 of those hours, they call it the national component. And they're very specific about what those hours have to cover. You have to have 1.5 hours of airway respiration and ventilation, 6 hours of medical, 6 hours of cardiovascular. Now, if you renew your BLS CPR, that counts for 4 hours of that cardiovascular. So most people really only need to do like a 2-hour add-on for cardiovascular. And you'll see that I do offer just that 2-hour cardiovascular course. So if you already did your BLS CPR, you can use your CPR card to prove the 4 hours. And then those other 2 hours, you can do with me or wherever you would like to do them. 5 hours of EMS operations and 1.5 hours of trauma. So you have to have those 20 hours. You can have more. You can have, 12 hours of trauma and 6 of medical or whatever, but you have to have at least 1.5 hours of airway, 6 hours of medical, 6 hours of cardio, 5 hours of EMS operations, and 1.5 hours of trauma. Now, for the additional 20 hours, it's a 10-hour local state component, they call it, and a 10-hour individual component. If you are in the state of Montana, there is no state requirement. I'm not that familiar with other states, so check with your state and see if they have any requirements. Now, there could be also a local requirement. The local requirement could be the county that you work in or the agency that you work for. For example, I used to ski patrol, and that particular mountain, they required the ski patrollers to do our continuing education with them. So the local component there could be you have to do a ropes course on, December 3rd with us. They're allowed to require whatever they want because your training officer has to sign off on your national registry certification. So if you're working or volunteering somewhere, just ask them, hey, is there a local or state component that I'm supposed to be fulfilling? Maybe you need 6 hours of hazmat for a certain state or something like that. In the state of Montana, there's nothing, but again, your local company could require it. Now, the 10-hour individual component, that's left up to you. That can be literally anything from the EMS curriculum that you would like it to be. Okay, so as long as it's within something that was basically covered in the EMT textbook, it can fulfill that requirement. Okay. Now, once you have your 40 hours for your national registry, you also need to think about your state license renewal. Your state license can expire at the same time as your national registry certification, a completely different day, a completely different year, whatever. In Montana, the state licenses expire on March 31st, whereas the national registry also expires on March 31st. So it's always the same day, but it's every 2 years. And depending on what time of year you originally became licensed and certified, it could be alternate years. For example, this year, my national registry expired, but next year, my state license expires. The next year is my national registry. So it's just cyclic. So no matter what, even if your national registry is still good for 1 year or 2 years, every single March, if you're in Montana, double check when your state license requires. If you're in another state, check it. I don't know when it expires. It could be January. It could be the month that you got it. It could be March. It could be July. It's up to them. So check your state license and your national registry certification. If you are working or volunteering as an EMT in any capacity, you have to have a state license in the state you're operating in. National registry, remember, it's just a certification. It's not a license to practice medicine. So if you have your NREMT card and you don't have a state license in the state you're working or volunteering in, you could be charged with practicing medicine without a license. That's like going to a hospital and working as a doctor and you're not actually a doctor. That's the same thing. Okay, you have to have a state license if you're working or volunteering. So up next, we're going to talk about Montana renewal requirements. If you're not in Montana, I would skip that part and go on to the next segment on how to enter the hours into the national registry. So Montana license renewal. In Montana, all you need to renew now is a current national registry certification. So if your NREMT is up to date, you don't have to get any more continuing education hours or anything like that. Just keep your national registry current at all times, and your Montana license, that's all you need. Now, before it expires, you do, even though you have your national registry card, you still need to log in, confirm that you have your current card, pay any renewal fees for your licensure, and submit your renewal. Now, you notice I say log in and I don't say the website. It's a big, long address. Every single time I need it, I just search online for Montana EMT license and it'll come right up. It's a dphhs.mt.gov/ a whole bunch of stuff. But that montana.gov gives you the clue. This is the right site. Click on renew my license and it'll step you through the process. You'll basically check a box confirming that, yes, my NREMT is current. They'll ask for information. Like I said, they may ask you to pay a renewal fee. I know those have been waived for a little while, but at a certain point, they're going to come back. And you submit your license renewal. They'll email you a confirmation. You're good for 2 years. You go back and do it again in 2 years. Okay. Again, if you're working or volunteering in the state of Montana, you have to have a state license. So make sure you renew it. If you let it lapse, it's really a challenge to get back. It's a weird thing, especially, yeah. So just keep it up. It's easier than trying to renew it if you get into this weird gray area. Now, I know a few of you listening may only have a Montana license and you don't have your national registry certification. If that's because you took your national registry test 3 years ago and you didn't recertify it and you let it lapse, sorry, you're done. You pretty much have to go retake an EMT class, get your national registry back, and then get your Montana license because that's the only option now. However, some of you were grandfathered in because you took the dynamic path test instead of the national registry. There was like a few years where you could do this other test, the dynamic path. If you took that test and you don't have your national registry certification, it's a real gray area right now on what you need to recertify. They basically say your medical director needs to sign off that you've met the qualifications similar to the national continued competency component of the national registry. So it's pretty safe to assume that you just need to get those same 40 hours that we discussed for the national registry recertification. But if you are working or volunteering somewhere, again, I would double check with your training officer to see if they want you to have something different or what the deal is there. Okay, so let's actually go to the National Registry site and see if we can figure out how to actually enter hours. So I'm going to just open up a new window here. So you go to NREMT.org. Straight to the website. Up here, you're going to click on Login. If you're like me, you already have your information saved. If not, good luck. You can click on Forgot Username, Password to try to get that information, but you'll have to You can't create a new account. You'll have to actually log in with your existing information. So get your username and password, get logged in. Now, when you log in, it usually takes you straight to candidate over here on your current role. You want to change that to my certification. Okay, when you click on my certification, you'll see here they give us a list of a whole bunch of steps. And that's what you need to do. Add courses to your transcript, assign topics to the courses that you did, and then submit your application in Recert application. Now, earlier I talked about recertifying by exam. If you're interested in that, you can click here and it'll tell you how to do that and all that good stuff. Okay, so if we want to add a course, we can just click right here, or along the side, we can click add a course, and we can click on our transcript to see what we have so far. So you might want to start there and see what you need. You can see mine's empty. I recertified by exam this year, even though I haven't submitted my paperwork yet, but I'm going to add a course. You can click it up here. It really doesn't matter. So we're going to click add a course. Now, there are all different types of courses that you can add, and it's really just going to depend on what sort of continuing education you did as to how you enter this. So we're going to go through each of the different types of courses that at least I'm familiar with, and hopefully you'll fall into one of those categories. So this drop-down bar here are all the different types of courses you can have. Okay, we'll start with continuing education course. The example for this would be that you did one of my online courses or some other course that you took that was usually by an EMT instructor, or maybe you went to like a wilderness medical conference, something along those lines, just a continuing education course. Okay, course name, you type in whatever the course name is here. So let's say you did my 1.5 hour trauma course. You type in trauma. Course approved by. Now, if you did continuing education classes with me, they're approved by the state EMS office, and you'll put Montana here. No matter what state you were in, the course was approved by the Montana State EMS office. Now, if you go online and you purchase some other continuing education classes, you may come across this CAPCE. That is an organizing body that approves continuing education courses. So that would be another option. Or you can click on other and you could type in whatever. Another example would be you took a college course, but that's really different. This is a continuing education course. So I don't know what other would be there, to be honest with you, but type in whatever it is. If you took a class with me, it's State EMS Office of Montana. Okay, course completion date. That should be printed on your certificate. So put in whatever the date you finished the class, and then put in the length of the class. So for example, the trauma course that I offer is 1.5 hours. So I'll put 1 hour, 30 minutes. Okay, now did you teach this course? No, unless you taught the course, in which case you probably know how to put the hours in. Was an instructor present? If you did this as an online course where you and I were not interacting one-on-one, that's considered a no. They used to limit the number of hours that you could do this. It's no longer limited, so it's no problem. Just put no. Now, if you interacted with the instructor like live over Zoom or in a classroom, that's when you would mark yes. But we'll say now you did the course online, so we'll mark no. Now, here's where you upload attachments. It's not going to require you to upload anything, but I strongly recommend that you upload your course completion certificate here. So if you took a class with me, if you go back to my website and you click on your profile, it's going to show you all the courses that you are registered for. And the ones that you've completed will have a little icon saying that you completed it. Okay, so go to your login page. If you're not already logged in, you'll have to log in. Okay, you'll see your name here, and then you'll see all the courses that you're enrolled in. Now you can see I haven't completed these courses. I made them, I didn't do them, but I did do the airway one. So I'll show you what it looks like from that one. So right here, it's complete, and then I have my little certificate. So I can click on that. That's going to bring me to my certificate. I know your computer might be a little bit different from here, but for me, there's my certificate that shows the time, the date, and everything. So I'm going to come up here and download that. Okay. Save it in my downloads folder. Then I can come back over here to my national registry, click here to browse. I'm going to go back to my downloads because that's where I saved it. There's my certificate. I'm going to open it. Okay, that's going to download that. So if I get audited, I've had students that got audited and they had uploaded all their certificates. They got an email from the National Registry saying you're being audited, and they panicked and freaked out and called me and said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Well, what does the email say?" And they said, "Well, it says they're going to take a couple days and they'll get back to me on what I need to submit." And a couple days later, they emailed them back and said, "Oh, we looked over all your files. You have passed the audit. Your NREMT has been recertified as scheduled or whatever." So they had to do absolutely nothing because everything was already uploaded here. Now, if you haven't uploaded this and you get audited, they're going to be knocking on your door, emailing you and saying, "Hey, we need the certificate to show that you did this, this, and this." And then you're going to have to try to find all those things from who knows when you did them. So that's uploaded. Okay, the country, the United States. This is for the course location. Okay, we can do state and city, we can do postal code. So if you're doing, if you did my online or whatever, Montana, the city, we're in Missoula. So you'll type in Missoula. Okay, let's see. I mean, they have here that if it was a virtual class, or virtual live or distributed education, either one. Okay, so if it's an online class, they're saying enter the city you were in while completing the course. Okay, so if you did this course from somewhere else, you can put somewhere else. I don't think it's really going to matter, honestly. Okay, additional course information. If you took one of my courses, the lead instructor was me, so Danielle Petrie. If you took a course from somebody else, put their name. Course description, you can put information in here if you want. You can put, learn about trauma assessments, bleeding control, whale chest, and more. Whatever. You can put as much information in there as you want. Again, if you get audited, that's what the NREMT might ask for. Sponsor, usually, so again, this is the name of the entity that conducted or sponsored the course, usually the name of the department, hospital, university, or training agency. So if you took a class with me, you're going to put fight or flight. And if you want to be really specific, you can put emergency medical educators. Okay. Now, if you have a whole bunch of these to add, you'd hit save and add another course, which is what we're going to do because we're going to do a bunch of these. So I'm going to click, or you can click save and view transcript and it'll take you straight back there. So save and add another course. So, and I'm going to have to go in and delete all these, by the way, because I didn't actually do them. Okay, so save and add another course. So we did a continuing education course. Now let's do a refresher course, national component course. Okay, so if you did like an EMT refresher, for example, I have an EMT refresher that's in person. That's 20 hours total. If you did all the little individual things online, I would just put them all in as individual classes. But if you showed up somewhere for like a weekend and did the whole thing at once, I would click on this refresher course / national component course. Again, the course name, was it EMR, EMT, advanced, or paramedic? Well, if you did it with me, it's an EMT refresher national component course. And again, mine is approved by the state, but people can pay thousands of dollars and get theirs approved by the CAPCE. Mine is State Office of Montana, the date that you completed the course, how many hours it was. Now it's a 20-hour course for the national component, so it should be 20 hours. But if, like last year, I offered a 24-hour one because the state of Montana used to require more. So if it was more, put whatever it is. Okay. Now, did you teach this course? Probably not. So you'll put no. Was the instructor present at this course? Again, if you were interacting with them live, either over Zoom or in person, that's yes. If you were not, and they were not present in the classroom and you had no way to interact with them live during the presentations, put no. So that'd be like an online course. Okay. Again, you want to click here and upload your certificate, whatever certificate you have. You can take a picture of it on your phone. If you do that, the NREMT app makes it really easy to add it, or you can take a picture of your phone, email it to you, download it to your computer, and then upload it here. But again, if you get audited, I would suggest having this. If you get audited and it's here, they're basically going to contact you and say, you're going to be audited. Yep, we audited you. You're good. If it's not here, they're going to contact you and say, you're being audited. And they're going to say, you need to send us certificates for all these courses. And you're going to have to go and try to find all of them. So upload them as you do them and upload the pictures so you'll have it. Okay, where was the location? Probably the United States. Then you can put in the state and the city. If you do classes with me, Montana, our city is Missoula. Okay. And then lead instructor name. Again, if you did a course with me, my name is Danielle Petrie, so you'll put that in. And then course description is optional. You can put more information here, we learned about, and put all that stuff, whatever you want to put in there. Now the sponsor is like the agency or the organization who put on the course. So if you did a course with me, that's going to be fight or flight. If you want to be really specific, it's fight or flight emergency medical educators. I don't know why I made such a long business name either. Okay, and then if you're done, you click save and view transcript, but I have more things to show you. So I'm going to click on save and add another course. So I'm going to click here. It's going to take me right back to the same page. And when it's time to add courses, I'm going to look at my course type. So we've already been through continuing ed course, such as my online course, the national component course, like the 20-hour refresher. Okay, another one would be a standardized course that you might take. Now, the most common standardized course, every EMT is required to do it every 2 years, is your CPR course. Okay, if you're wondering if something's a standardized course, click on standardized course and then click on this list. If you see it here, it is. If you don't, it's not. You'll notice there's no other button or anything like that. This is it. So it could be CPR, ACLS, basically a lot of things with acronyms, right? Burn life support, stroke life support, neurological life support, PALS. Okay, so, any of these courses that show up here you can use, TCCC, a lot of these are pretty common. But let's, you all take BLS CPR. So I'm going to put in CPR, BLS. That's state EMS office again. The completion date. Now a CPR class, if you did BLS CPR, it's always considered 4 hours. So you click the 4 here. 4 hours. Did you teach the course? Probably not. Was an instructor present? Probably, because you at least had to demonstrate your skills and do your quiz. So you can put yes. For this one, I would just upload a picture of your CPR card. Take a picture of your CPR card and upload it here. That is totally fine. You can ask for a continuing education certificate from the instructor, but it's a really frustrating process as the instructor. I can tell you that for me, but it's also going to be frustrating for you to try to get a hold of the instructor and wait and all that. Just upload a picture of your CPR card. That works. National Registry will accept that. Okay, course location, again, probably United States. What state and city you were in, Montana. If you took the class with me, you were in Missoula. But wherever you did the class, lead instructor name, again, if it was me, there's my name. If it was not me, on your CPR card, the instructor is typically printed there. I don't think there's any reason to put a course description here, but if you wanted to put, American Heart Association or Red Cross or whatever, BLS CPR class. And then the sponsor is going to be whoever taught the course. If you don't know, like, if it was me, I'd put fight or flight. If you don't know who it is, you could put American Heart Association or Red Cross or whoever like the class was through. Okay. Again, this is your last one. You can hit save and view transcript, but we're going to look at some other types of continuing education courses you might need to add. So I'm going to hit save and add another course so I can show you something else. Okay, so this time, let's say the course that we need to add is a college course. Now, this one's kind of a touchy subject. I'm making this video March of 2023. So if you're renewing March of 2023, it's going to be different. Whereas starting in April of 2023 for the next renewal cycle, college courses are going to get a little bit more complicated. So as of right now, you will see that your college course, you put the course name. So, it must be related to EMS. For example, anatomy, physiology, biology, chemistry, pharmacology, psychology, those kind of things. So let's say you took anatomy 1. Okay. You'd put state EMS office, and it'll even show you down here, 1 college credit hour equals 8 continuing education hours. So if it was a 4 credit hour class, you put that in. And that's what you put in. And it's going to calculate out that that's going to be 32 hours of continuing education for you. And that's how it works right now. You can put that anywhere you need to. So anatomy, that might fall under, you could put that under medical, right? Or psychology, you could put that, most of these would go under medical. Now, that's changing April 2023. So if you're not renewing in 2023, instead of 8 hours, it's kind of getting better and worse. It's going up to 10 hours for Recert, but you can only count those hours towards your individual and your local component. You cannot count it towards your national component. starting with 2024 renewals. So if you're renewing in 2023, it's really straightforward. If it's 2024, when you come back to the site, this is going to probably look different and have a different explanation for here, and it'll let you know. But again, you'll only be able to apply those to your local and your state component. So or local, state, individual component. So make sure you do your 20 hours through continuing education or whatever, and then for those other 20, you just need 2 credit hours of some college course that fits in. But they're getting way more strict on what actually counts for the college course starting in April of 2023. I don't think anatomy and things like that are going to count anymore unless they're part of an EMS program. So if you're in paramedic school, fine. If you're doing pre-med classes and you just took a classic anatomy class, it's not going to count for your recertification anymore, is the way I understand it. I'll show you later in this presentation where to find the actual written rule so you can decide for yourself. Okay, so did you teach the college course? Probably not. Was the instructor present? Probably. You'd put yes, unless you did it fully online and didn't have live interaction with the instructor. Here for your file, I would upload a picture of your college transcript. I don't think you need to go pay for the official transcript. Just take a screenshot of the one off of your, log in on your site or whatever that shows the start date and end date and all that kind of stuff. But I would put your transcript right there for your upload. Now you're in the United States, whatever state and city you took the class, wherever it was, maybe you were in Bozeman at MSU instead of University of Montana. The instructor's name, Dr. Elizabeth Smith or whatever their name was. Okay, course description, put in here what you learned about in the class and how it related to EMS is what I would do for that one. The sponsor, we said we were in Bozeman, so we'll say Montana State University for this one. Whatever college you went to. Okay, again, if this is all the classes you need to add, you would save and view transcript, but we're going to add one more course so that we can see all the different types. So save and add another course. All right, so we've already talked about how to add just a regular continuing education course. So we're ready to add another course. We've already done a continuing ed course. We've already done the national component course or refresher. We've talked about standardized courses and college courses. Now, if you help with my EMT class, that EMT class is an initial EMS education program. Another example would be if you're helping with somebody else's EMT class, or maybe you're taking a paramedic class or an advanced EMT class. That's an initial EMS education program. Now, for the course name, if you help with my class, it's EMT. If you're taking an advanced or a paramedic or helping with an advanced or paramedic or helping teach an EMR or whatever it is, click on that. Okay, we're EMT. Now, these courses are approved by the state. So that's going to be State EMS Office of Montana, the date that you were there to help with the class, how many hours. When people come in to help with my class, it's typically 3, but it'll be printed on your certificate. Okay, and if you covered a bunch of different topics and I put them all in one certificate, you could either put them all together here or break them up. And I would say that depends on what you need for your national component. If you're using for your national component, I'd probably break them up into different courses. If you did 2 hours of trauma and 1 hour of medical, I would put it in here as 2 hours and we can call it trauma. And then we can do 1 hour of medical separately. Now, did you teach this course? If you were in helping with my class, the answer was yes, you were helping teach that course. So it's yes, you taught it. And if you're, taking that advanced or paramedic, the answer would be no. Was an instructor present? Yes, unless you were doing this online. I don't know how that would even work. Drop files here. This is where you'll upload the picture of your continuing education certificate. Take a picture of it with your phone, email it to yourself, or if you use the National Registry app, you can upload it straight from your phone, from your picture files. And I really suggest you do this because if you get audited, they will either log in here and see your uploads and your audit. They'll usually email you and say, hey, you're being audited. You'll panic for like a day or two. And then you'll get another email that says you've passed your audit and your National Registry will be renewed on March 31st. If you don't upload them here, they'll send you an email that makes you panic that says you're being audited. And then they'll send you a second email that will give you a little miniature heart attack that says, we need to see all the pieces of paper, those certificates that prove that you did your continuing education hours. And you're going to have to try to go find all those pictures or pieces of paper. So upload them here as you go, and that way you don't have to worry about losing them or whatever. So upload them here. Course location, wherever the class was at. Again, United States, Montana. If you helped with my class, it's in Missoula, Montana. Okay, lead instructor would be my name. I was the lead instructor of that initial EMS course. You help with somebody else's class or you're taking a different class, put your teacher's name or the lead instructor's name. Course description, help students with traction splits. Okay. Sponsor, again, this is where you're going to put whatever agency or institution or whatever that you were with. My company is Fight or Flight. If you want to be fancy, you'll go Emergency Medical Educators. I don't know why I made the company name so long either. I have to type it more than anybody. Okay. Now, that's it. That's all the different types we can do. So I'm going to go save and view transcript. But if you had more classes you needed to add, you just click save and add another course. So I'm going to go save and view transcript, and that's going to take me to my transcript. Anytime you need to see your transcript, you can come over here on the side and just click transcript, and we'll see everything. Okay. Now, this is what always panics everybody. This is how you assign your courses. Over here, it says unassigned, and it's red, and it makes everybody freak out a little bit. That's okay. That's because we haven't assigned them yet. We need to assign the courses. We're not finished. We need to put these into the different categories, right? So I'm going to click on unassigned, and that's going to let me assign the course. So I click on this. Now, this was the trauma course. And notice that it was 1.5 hours over here. Okay, so we have our course name up here is trauma. It's 1.5 hours and it's unassigned. And then this kind of freaks everybody out because it's got 1.5. I can assign this anywhere I want, technically, using the technology, but I need to assign it where it's supposed to be assigned. It's trauma. It needs to fall under trauma. So I'm going to click assign right there. Okay, it assigned it. Notice that all these other numbers went to 0. That's because I've assigned the full 1.5 hours, right? So I'm going to go back to view courses. Now let's go to my CPR course, CPR and BLS. It's unassigned, so I'm going to click on that. Now again, it's 4 hours. I need to put this somewhere. Well, it's, airway respiration and ventilation. I know you do breaths during CPR, but they consider this to be part of cardiovascular. But notice this one just says 1.5 because that's the most I can assign there. Because that's the most that you need. You can still do more hours of airway, but you can only assign 1.5 hours of airway. Okay, so it's cardiovascular. So I'm going to assign it to cardiovascular. All right. And then you notice that's it. The rest of them become zeros because it's been assigned. Okay. Now, if I come back to my transcript, I still see some red because things aren't really going well, right? I still have things that I need to assign. I think this is where if I go to my dashboard. Okay, so if I go to my dashboard, I can see here's where I'm at. My hours completed and my hours remaining. So it looks like on here, I've only completed 5.5 hours and I have 14.5 to go. We know that's not true. I just uploaded like 60 hours. I only need 40 total. The reason it says completed versus remaining is because I've only assigned 5.5 hours. I did the 4-hour cardio and the 1.5 hour trauma. I haven't assigned anything else. So it looks like I still need 14.5 hours to go. But this is really misleading because it shows 20 and you really need 40. So, this is not very helpful. And I understand why it kind of makes people freak out. I'm going to go to my transcript. And look at my transcript. I have that my refresher course is unassigned. I'm going to save that one for last because of reasons. Okay, I've got my anatomy, my college class that I took. I'm going to click on unassigned. Now this one's 32 hours. Remember we put it in. It was an 4-credit-hour course, but you get 8 hours for every hour. So it counted as 32 hours. Now, I shouldn't do this because anatomy doesn't cover airway necessarily, but I'm just so you can see how it works. Okay, I'm going to put that it was 1.5 hours of anatomy. Let's say 2 hours of it was cardio, 6 hours of medical, 5 hours of operations. Okay, I still have 17.5 hours not assigned. What do? The national component's full. Well, you come down here to your local or your state, and you could assign, it does not matter where you put it. People really freak out about this, but if your local agency or your local state doesn't have any specific requirements, then you you can put whatever you want here. It could be your anatomy class, that's fine. Even after April of 2023, you can use your anatomy class for this 10 hours of your local or state component. Now you notice this dropped down to 7.5 because that's all I have left. So I'm going to go to assign. Okay, I've assigned everything. I have 0 hours unassigned, so I'm finished. I'm going to go back to view courses. Okay, and you just continue doing this. Now I have my 3 hour, I helped with an EMT class. So I'm going to click on that. And these are all green. I can't assign them because there's nothing left to assign. Oh, I can put 2.5 here. Well, that leaves a half hour unassigned. What do I do? Nothing. It's just bonus hours that I got. Cool. So I'm going to go back to view courses. Okay. Now here's my transcript. This gets people worried because they go, well, this is fully assigned. This is unassigned. This is partially assigned. They don't like to see red. It's fine. You got your full 40 hours. Remember on that last screen when I clicked, it showed every single hour was full. So I'm good to go there. I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm, you know, I'm totally in the clear. I have my 40 hours. So that's all I have to do. I'm finished. Now I would go to Recert application. And I'm not going to be able to walk you all through this because I'm recertifying by exam and I just put in a bunch of fake stuff. So I'm going to have to go back and delete all that so I don't get in trouble. But you're going to click on Recert application and then fill out the information and submit everything. And I think they do have about a $25 recertification fee. Then you're good to go. Make sure you do all this before March 31st. So when you get back here to your Recert application, you'll see your name and everything, and then you see your continuing education. Now it's green. Now it's completed. That's good. Now you see this red. That should be bad. That should set off red alarms. Click on start. Put in all this information. Click on start. Click on, do all this information, payment, all that good stuff, and then you'll submit application once everything's completed. And at that point, you're good to go. It'll send you a confirmation email and let you know you've been recertified. So I think that is all I have for you. I feel like I've forgotten something, but I think that's all I have. If you have questions, let me know so I can add it for the next video. Thank you.